do 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 do
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Fun Bunker Film School. I am your co-host, Zach, here with my other co-host, Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Good. Now, it's just us tonight because we had students and they left, and one is out, or maybe we just had one, but he's out with an excused medical leave of absence from our class tonight. So it's just us.
Yeah, he had a bad case of being an old man.
That is the simplest way of putting it. Yeah, he. We won't publicly shame who it was or what happened to him.
Yeah, but you
But
have to guess who it was.
he was doing. He's the fittest of all of us, is how I'd say it.
Probably.
And he still threw out his back. So, which
Yep.
I did a while back. And that's no joke, man. I had to go to the chiropractor and I haven't been to chiropractor in forever, but he used like a roller table and like electric shock therapy pads like they use in sports medicine. And
Yeah.
it was like I couldn't get out of my bed because it was pinching a nerve. It was horrible, but he fixed me up.
Oh,
Fixed me up.
well, that's good.
Yep. So, anywho, yeah, welcome back, all you listeners. Last time was what The Thing.
The Thing. Yep.
That's what we just did. So now very similar movie tonight. Same same feel and genre, you know.
Yep.
No, not even close. So we are doing The Searchers tonight, and Chris, I gotta admit, when you told me, I saw the list because I see the list, and I saw it was a Western, but for some reason it did not even come into my brain that this would be an old movie. So when I
Sure.
looked it up and I was like, 56, excuse me? What? And
Yeah.
sure enough, it was the correct movie. John Wayne's The Searchers. It's not his movie. He's the star. It's John Ford's The
John
Searchers,
Ford's The
rather.
Searchers.
Yeah. But most people would probably recognize the John Wayne name. So what made you pick this? Because we have our Yee-haw Western genre, and this is
Yeah.
what you chose. So why this one? There's a lot of Westerns out there.
Oh, yes. That's part of it, is that there's a lot of Westerns I could have chosen.
You chose a
I could have-
racist one. So
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So I could have chosen any number of John Wayne or John Ford's previous, I think they'd worked 14 movies together. Like John Ford made a ton of movies throughout
Dang.
the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. But I wanted to do this one because it comes up on a lot of lists as it being one of the best Westerns or the best American films. And I confess that when I made the list, I actually had not seen it. This was actually a new one to me. This is not one that I grew up with or anything. So this is part of my learning too, and my
nice.
crossing things off of checklists. And I'm really glad I did.
I'm going to interrupt your question.
Yeah.
Have you seen other Westerns, though?
Yes, I
Okay.
have seen other Westerns. I'm not as very... this side of things, this side of Westerns, like when Westerns were really a big deal and they were all over Hollywood, I'm not as familiar with them. Actually, our student Nathan Phelan, not Cold, he actually, I remember he actually watched John Wayne movies.
Yeah, he watched a lot of those.
Yeah. So it was not about calling on him to guest teach, but
can you just sub in real quick?
Yeah, you want to just sub in and cover a subject matter expert here. I think that what's interesting about this movie is that it was so influential to guys that would come into the scene later, particularly in the 70s, who would then go on to be influential to other directors down the line.
So this is like if you've seen so and so, he was influenced by this movie, yes. or just this director, and this movie is part of that package.
To put just two big ones right out off the bat, this is one of Martin Scorsese's favorite movies, and there are shots in Star Wars that are direct homages to The Searchers.
which is what Martin Scorsese directed. So makes
It's
sense.
George Lucas.
um, in the original, like just A New Hope, or in all the original trilogy?
Yes, specifically, so the when they return from the kind of fake out, that the tribe like tries to lure
Oh,
out the family,
oh,
and they come
shoot.
out
The
to the house
house.
that's being burned up. It is
Oh, my word. It
so,
is so close.
yeah, it's a very direct homage to Luke returning to Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's home, and
Well,
it's
even
all
the
burned up.
even the his realizing and Ben stays and
Hmm.
he runs away. It's the same. It's the
It's kind of
same.
like Marty. Marty is kind of like Luke. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like, Marty's running away, and then and John Wayne, um, what's his name in the movie?
Ethan.
Ethan's like, you can't make it. Like the horses need to
Yeah,
rest.
the horses need grain and rest. Yeah.
And Ben is yelling at Luke. He's like, it's too late. Like you don't need. It's already too
Yeah,
late, man.
what's there is going to still be there. It's a bad situation. Yeah.
So wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay, I'm excited. I was wondering why you picked this one. I knew there'd be a reason, and so that makes me even more excited because now it's not just things that are like theoretically like I can appreciate, but that's
Yeah.
a very vivid scene in my
Yeah.
brain because I remember the
To
first time I saw it.
to dig in a little bit more on why I think that this movie is still discussed today amongst other westerns is that it's also a turn for John Wayne. When you think of like the John Wayne Western, even if you haven't seen many of them, you have a vision in your head of like the kindly cowboy, like the good cowboy, the very like moral centered, um,
He's a good guy. He's a good
yeah, a
guy.
good guy, right? And this movie challenges that notion of who John Wayne was like as an actor and as a movie star, and also challenged, the idea behind some of these westerns that a lot of them were, a lot of just going and um, killing a lot of the bad Native Americans,
Mm,
and this takes a different look at what might be charging those emotions.
mm,
um, and I think too, if you're looking at American history, it's a movie that comes right kind of at the beginning or around the start of the civil rights movement really kicking into gear in the
mm,
mid to late 50s and going into the
mm-hmm,
60s.
mm-hmm,
um, so to have a movie that is coming at kind of the end of the Western boom. Like Westerns used to be in Hollywood. It used to be like superhero movies were in the kind of
mm,
mid 2000s to late 2010s, I'd call it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where it seems like every other movie that was coming out at the time was a Western. Just like for a while, it was like every other movie coming out is Marvel, DC, or is some take on superheroes.
yeah.
Um, and so
Hmm.
to have this movie kind of come at the tail end of that, come from two of the guys that were instrumental in making westerns so popular, like Rio Grande or Shane, or any of those kind of classic westerns, uh, is pretty impressive. It makes me think of something like a Logan, which is coming like at the
Mm,
tail end of this, like all this superhero stuff, and is a
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
different take, that's a little bit more, it's a little darker. It's an anti-hero. This is definitely an anti-hero tale, um, on the genre, and
Logan
it's
is a
it's really
really good
interesting.
comparison to that
Yeah.
because Logan is also, we'll get into this, but he's also that character who does what needs to be done
Yeah.
for the sake of other people living their lives.
Right, he is an anti-hero that is also basically a western.
Yep,
And in that movie,
that's a Western superhero
yeah,
movie.
in that movie they watch Shane, like,
Yeah,
yeah, so
which is great. Well, that's good.
yeah.
Great reasons. Great reasons to choose this. This is great. Well, I'm going to start from the perspective of did I enjoy it? Because I have watched very few westerns, surprisingly. Southern boy, just didn't grow up watching westerns. My dad didn't grow up showing me westerns. I think Nathan. You mentioned Nathan. He's Tennessee and North Carolina. That's pretty much as crossover you can get from the southern United States being the same channel of the
Sure.
states. But I didn't grow up watching them, so I was kind of excited because when I thought I was gonna have to say this was my first John Wayne, but I have seen True Grit. So when True Grit Coen Brothers came out, my dad was like, "Well, if we're gonna go watch that, we gotta watch the original
Mm.
because we gotta do it." So we did a back to back feature when it came out on DVD, and we liked them both for different reasons, which I think is the consensus that a lot of people have with those movies. I don't think anybody that I've met that is reasonably like, I hate one. I think everybody likes them both for different reasons. So I have seen the John Wayne movie. Ironically, I haven't seen the good old boy, like he's the good sheriff and the good guy, the hero. But this one was interesting. It definitely felt old, in some ways very good,
Mm.
good old. So I loved the opening. That's like a brick wall,
Yeah.
like the opening credits. I loved it. I was like, they don't do this anymore. They don't do
Sure.
original like new logo feel or like a brick, like it's just the credits and usually at
Nobody
the
does
end now.
title sequences like that. Yeah.
No. And so it was great. I love the song. I feel like the song was leading me up to what was about to happen. And then to be honest, I loved the opening shot. The opening shot is great. The opening shot
The
is a framed door
yeah.
and the wife is standing there, his brother's wife, and then it zooms out and uprides John Wayne. You got
Yeah.
this ensemble collecting of the family happening right there, and then uprides Ethan, and then I'm just going to skip way to the end. Great cinematography because the ending scene is a door and
It's
he's
bookend.
walking
Yeah.
away. It's a
Beautiful.
fantastic, like this is a well shot movie. I
Yeah.
thought it was I
For
thought it was great.
absolutely. For something, yeah, I mean, you think about something that was made like 70 years ago, almost 70 years
This
ago.
is insane.
And yes, like when you look up stuff about this movie, a lot of people like like the number one comment you see is like it's one of the best opening and closing shots of all time.
It's
It's just
great.
that really
So good.
gorgeous like yeah, you see the door open and it's in the middle of the frame and there's just a silhouette of the wife Martha, yeah, and then it as the camera moves through the door you see it just open up into that it's Monument Valley is where it was shot.
Oh, is that where
It's
they
just
shot
this
it?
gorgeous, yeah, just this
I've been to
gorgeous
this
part of the country.
amazing part of the country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just really really cool stuff. And then yes, like the last shot being a bookend of it, almost going the opposite way, where you have everybody going back into the house and the door closing as John Wayne leaves. It's
As
really
John
good
Wayne
stuff.
leaves.
Yeah. So
Um,
that I would say
yeah.
those are the things that last about this movie is the cinematography, just how good it looks. It's shot on VistaVision film. It's a very large film format. It was shot or shown in very large theaters. Um, and then John Wayne's performance, this kind of like darker turn, this thing that people didn't know he had in him, or that these kinds of stories were capable of being told in this format. It's not like it's the first anti-hero movie ever made. It's not like it's the first I don't know, like complex tale ever made, but being made at that scale and in that genre was notable. And with that kind of
Yeah.
like,
It would be
old boy goody two
like,
shoes.
I'm trying to think of a character. It would be like if the original Captain America, Steve Rogers, if his next movie, instead of him dying, it was like he takes a really dark turn.
Yeah, sure.
People would be like, "What? No, 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 no." Like, no, I'd rather have him dead and
Yeah.
preserve his good name than
Or
have him
there's notable actors that they don't like the idea of them playing, they don't like the idea of their image being tarnished by playing like villains. So you have
Yeah.
like, and this is later on, but like there's been more coverage about him recently because he just recently passed away. But Robert Redford played a lot of like guys who were the lead and they did the right thing all the time. And like
Hmm.
the one time he like plays a villain is in you kind of mentioned it. It's in Captain America: The Winter Soldier when he plays like the senator that's actually corrupt or whatever. Like he's
Hmm.
actually the villain. And it was like kind of a fun thing because it's like, oh, we've never like it took a Marvel movie to get Robert Redford to like
To be a bad guy.
play with this different side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
So,
It's good.
but I would say, as you alluded to, though, it does feel old. Like there's parts of this, like
Oh,
I don't think this
very.
is a perfect movie, and there's a lot of like '50s melodrama. Um, and
So yeah.
Roger Ebert actually pretty famously has a review that's a 4 out of 4 star. They did things on 4 stars. I don't quite know why,
like
but
like
uh,
weirdos.
yeah, he basically gave it a perfect score, but said like there's this romantic subplot and there's stuff that comes in for comedic relief, and, and like I should like have pulled up the quote. He's basically like real ones know real fans of the Searchers are just waiting for John Wayne to come back on the screen.
Oh, 100%. Like
And
anytime
like
he's
honestly, I
like in
felt
the
that
other room and you're
it
like,
feels like it's
why are we here? Why are we
yeah,
watching
it feels
Marty
like a
eat
different movie.
beans? And this senorita lady is like trying to seduce him, and then
Yeah,
she gets frustrated and just eats beans with him, and you're like, okay, like what was that sub 15-second plot that I just
yeah,
watched? Like, I don't understand. But you're correct. You're onto something because this movie I had a lot of like what am I watching moments. Never like in a
sure.
bad way, but like it felt like the movie ended 3 times and then it was like because of the subplots because you get an ending you think and I tried to put myself in the role of someone going to the theaters to see this because in the streaming world you can spoil things, you can
Sure.
pause the movie and say how much do I have left, right? So when you're like, oh, I've got 40 minutes left, like clearly it's not the end. But if you're in a theater and you get to the first, what I would say, false ending, where um, they are found her and she tells them
Hmm.
to leave. Now that plot brings some more resolution to itself, but they leave, and I am like, okay, let me just put myself in the theater's shoes because what if I'm thinking this is the end of the movie wrapping up? What would I be experiencing? And then the next thing we get is this crazy wedding scene. And you're
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here? But evidently it's important. So, yeah, it's a very interesting movie. Um, I was gripped by it for different reasons than something like, say, Heat. Heat gripped me. It's long, but it was because of how tightly scripted this was. This gripped me because I genuinely was curious what's going to happen because
Hmm.
I kind of invested in the characters at this point.
For
Like
sure.
I like the characters. They're kind of quirky. They're old. Some of the acting is a little wonky. It's old acting for sure, but I like these characters. Like I want to know what happens. So yeah,
Yeah.
like for you, what made you hooked as you're watching, and how did you feel about as at least two plots running simultaneously. Probably some argument for more, but I would say two strong plots running simultaneously next to each other.
Yeah. I think so. Um, it is very engaging, and I think the nature of like you get the sense right from the get go, like as soon as Ethan comes in that house and he is saying, I've the war ended 3 years ago, and I've been gone since then, and then you have Martin Polly enters the scene, who is I would say, John Wayne is kind of like eats up every scene, but he is the other lead of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
When Martin Polly shows up and you get the information revealed that he is a man that Ethan helped save when he was a kid. Um,
But he doesn't want to
but
talk
that,
about it.
yeah, he doesn't want to talk about it, and he also makes a racist remark about that he could be mistaken for a half breed, and you
Mm-hmm.
start to get these little hints in the dialogue, and they're peppered throughout the film, and I don't want to make it sound like like hints, like it's like is he actually racist? No, he is like
No, he's
oh,
very
he is
racist.
very racist,
Huge
but
flaw in his character.
yeah, you just get you're trying to figure this guy out, and I think what kept me engaged throughout the movie was trying to figure out, does he actually, at a certain point, before they find Debbie, you're like, does he actually care about Debbie, or does he just really hate the Comanche people? And
Yeah.
that really begs that question. And then you get the scene. It's kind of like as you said, it's like an early climax
Hmm.
where they finally run across Debbie. It's been 5 years. She's now like a 13 or
She's like
14-year-old girl.
15 or something.
Yeah.
14. Yeah, 14.
Um, and they learn that Debbie has been taken in as a wife
Like
of
a
the
harem
head
wife. Yeah.
chief. Yeah. Um, and he immediately views her as like tainted goods and is like, it's better
Yeah,
if she's dead
she's
and I'm gonna
other.
shoot her.
She's
Yes, like
other for
she's
him.
ruined. um and that's like right, and that's in my head, that's like such an insane leap to go from like, uh you were like trying to find this girl for 5 years, and like you learn that she's been forced into this marriage or whatever, and like she's now tainted and she's one of them, and she would be better off dead. And you get
Hmm.
you and like I said, there's stuff peppered in before that. You get the scene when they go on the initial search, after the house has been burned down, and um they find a buried Comanche warrior.
Oh,
And
that seems crazy.
yeah, and the rest of the crew is kind of frustrated because their search isn't going well. And one of the guys like throws a rock on the corpse, which is like
Which
the
this
movie
is
does
like
not
the
have blood,
grieving.
but
This is the
it's like, yeah,
grieving
he's,
fiance. So he's
yes,
the most
yeah,
reasonable person in that grief emotional aspect. You're like, okay, I get it, but we should calm him down, sort of
yeah.
situation.
And then Ethan says, like, well, why don't you actually finish the job, and like shoots out the corpse's eyes so that
Yeah,
uh, he does not, because he knows that the Comanche way of belief says that he won't be able to like fully go into the full afterlife. He'll just be a
yeah,
wanderer in the afterlife. Like
yeah.
he's like
It's his
so
level
mad that
of
he's like
cruelty that
desecrating
goes
this corpse. Yeah,
beyond the living.
yeah, and oh yeah. So you're watching this trying to figure out, like, is there any redemption for this character? And even by the end, I'm not sure, fully sure, like with the ending, that when he does, resolve to save Debbie and bring her back home. I'm like, does one good act like justify how many people he killed along the way, and the hatred that's still in his heart for those people and everything?
So this is a great movie. So I actually wrote. I was reflecting on the movie, and I'm like, at the heart of this movie, this is a movie about the choice between revenge or love as a mode of life, is in my opinion.
Sure.
Um, why do you live? Kind of the question. And the reason I say that is because of Martin's character. So you've got Ethan, and he is like, to most appropriate way of saying it, he's basically hellbound to follow revenge. That is his
Yeah.
mode of
He's
living.
obsessed.
He's obsessed with wiping out the people group, uh, Native Americans that he thinks has caused all the pain in his life, essentially.
Hmm.
And so he is just ruthless and brutal, and he hides it in some jokes. But when he like Marty says, "I've seen how he looks, and I'm worried of what he'll do, so I have to be there to stop him." Well, Marty himself starts to get led into like, I need revenge mentality, but he's got a girl at home that he wants to get back to. And he keeps going out and leaving her to go find Debbie. But even when they find Debbie, like, he has to go back out because she's not fully saved yet. And his there's other people that have like horribly racist takes, because even his fiance, the girl, because she doesn't want him to leave,
Hmm.
she's like, her own mom would have wanted her to die at
Yes.
this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's pretty.
good Lord, like, okay. But he's the most redemption filled. Martin is, because he's like, I gotta save everyone. He's a pretty good dude. He's a good foil for the Ethan character for sure.
He does have
And
like a highest moral center for sure.
and
He's
he's
the
the
one
one
that
that
is,
holds
yeah.
back Debbie. And now,
Mhm.
and to be honest, after the ending and how Debbie left so quickly with Martin, my suspicion is because I was shocked. I was like, oh, she's gone, fully Stockholm syndrome, and so she's committed to this way of life and this people. But at the end, she leaves with them super willingly, and I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure this was a trap. They sent her down, and she was trying to get them to leave so they wouldn't fall into the trap. But they refused to leave. They sprung the trap. The chief did, and she was stuck in the middle of that
Right.
because Ethan freaked out on her, which I don't think she anticipated. So I'm actually suspicious that she wasn't fully as committed as it seems in that scene, and it's more of I do want to save. Like she spoke their native language, but then she switched to English, and she's like, "Well, of course I recognized you, but you need to leave." And I'm like, I think that was false. So that's my
Mm.
hypothesis. But Ethan's not buying it. He's like, nope, you're gonna die. And Marty is the one that saves her. And then it all goes pear shaped after that. And they get ambushed and attacked by the chief. But it's Marty's blind revenge, or sorry, Ethan's blind revenge that keeps putting him in situations where it's either kill or be killed.
Right.
There's no other options at all. He doesn't believe in another option. Like even when the buffalo are running away, he's shooting all of them.
Yeah.
And Marty is like, "What are you doing, man?" And he's like, "Well, that's one less buffalo for them to eat for the winter." And I'm like, "This guy is psychotic. Like
Right.
he's wasting his ammo killing these buffalo because he thinks if he can kill enough buffalo, then these people he hates won't have enough food." That's
Yeah.
obsessive
He'd
behavior.
rather like starve them out and
Yeah,
kill a bunch of, yeah,
which
because yeah,
it
I
won't
was
work.
confused when that
So
scene started because it's like they mentioned something about how they need food. So like in the Oregon Trail Mac 2 game, you gotta go kill some
yeah,
buffalo.
gotta go kill that
And,
buffalo.
but I'm thinking like, oh man, if they kill like one, maybe two buffalo, they'd have enough meat like to feed them like through the
Oh
rest of
yeah.
the winter or whatever.
See, I
He
thought
just
that
keeps
too.
firing.
When he mentioned hunger, I was like, "Oh, he's going crazy from his own hunger." Nope, he meant he wanted to kill as many animals as possible. And I'm like, "You are insane. Like you're
Yeah.
literally insane."
Like his rage against the Comanche people is now spread like past the Comanche people, and
Yep.
he's harming innocent creatures so
Yep.
that he can starve out the Comanche people. Um,
It's good.
and yeah, it's a really interesting and complex movie when you're talking about that. And to get back to the question that you asked me probably 15 minutes ago, to then like compare that and contrast that with like the romance subplot, which is a pretty like standard, like as I said, 50s melodrama,
hmm
is interesting. Usually I'm a big defender of if there seems to be two incongruous subplots, like if there's an A plot that seems like it's about one thing and the B plot seems like it's not as cool or it's not as well done. Usually I feel like there's a reason, that they feed into each other pretty well. This movie does, some of it does feed into one each other. Like the romance subplot definitely does tell you a lot about Marty's character. The letter that he writes to Lori also serves as a plot device to show how time moves, kind of in that
hmm
middle act.
Because a
So there's things
lot of
about
time
it that
moves.
work, but then like there's parts of it where I'm just like, this is like feels like it's in a completely different movie. like I'm watching
So
something very different. Like my daughters are a big fan of oh shoot, what's the Laura Ingalls Wilder books?
Little House on Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie. Um,
Yeah,
they
it's very
they
Little House on
sometimes
Prairie esque, isn't it?
yeah, some of it like they sometimes watch the 70s
Oh, grew up
TV show
watching that.
adaptation. Yeah,
Yeah,
and some of it
the wedding fight feels like
it feels like it's out of that. Yes, the whole
it's like
wedding
this. Shake
sequence.
your hands and make up, boys.
Yes. It feels very much like something from a different movie. And then you get to the John Wayne part, and he's this like grizzled Civil War veteran, racist.
Who is also
That's
wanted?
probably
Question
also,
mark.
yes, he's also a criminal.
Yeah, he's like, I can't swear in, and he's like, why?
Yes.
He's like, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Are you
Uh,
asking as a preacher or as a ranger? It's
yeah,
like,
I love that line actually. That's a
shoot.
pretty gnarly line. He Ethan, yeah, he does. Where was I going with that?
Well, so pause while you
Yeah,
collect
yeah,
your
yeah.
thoughts. So I read a letterbox review. I was looking at some stuff on Letterbox, and
Sure.
I read a letterbox review that actually had me thinking about that, the dissonance, and their take on it. I can't remember who wrote this, but their take on it was a pretty good one as a hypothesis. If you want to build a connection, John Wayne's character is a necessary evil for the life that these people want to have in a harsh, terrible environment. And so you see
Mm,
the innocence of inside the house, is how you kind of put it with the shots. Inside the house, the life you want to carve out for yourself in this barren waste, but you need these other guys that are horrible to go do that work. And even in the movie, like the preacher man sergeant ranger, he kind of acknowledges it because he quickly will just wipe away like, we need to arrest you, and then something happens like, well, never mind, swear you in. Because you need Ethan, you need him.
yeah.
He's gonna do what needs to be done. And so with Ethan, they described it this way: the beauty of the shots is Ethan comes back. He's 3 years late. What have you been doing for 3 years after the war ended? Is kind of the question that we never get answered. And then he leaves, and their take on it was, this isn't a world for him. He belongs out there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a pretty good hypothesis
I think
of,
that's a very good take on that ending, and I
yeah.
think is very apt that it's not the world that he is trying to fight for is not one that he can actually exist in and be a part of. Like he
And to tie it in a little stronger, what's her name? Um,
Martha.
not, no, not Martha. Brad's mom. They're sitting on the
Oh,
porch,
Mrs.
and
Jorgensen.
Brad's,
Yeah.
yep, Mrs.
Yes.
Jorgensen. She has a line about this. Maybe one day Texas will be a place where people can, this country will be a place where people can live in
Yes.
peace, but it might not be in our time. And that's kind of a prophetic, like, maybe one day we won't need Ethan, but right now we need Ethan,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
Like we
That's
need
kind of
this
how it
like
feels.
this necessary evil thing, which like says a lot about the other characters. Like I don't, Ethan is the most like outspokenly racist, but as you alluded to, even Lori has these views, and I think you see it in some of these other characters that a lot of the white characters are not necessarily free from blame or guilt.
No, no.
Like
I mean, even Marty kicks his accidental wife down a
yeah, right.
cliff.
I was like, man, that was so
Like,
mean. It's like played
excuse
for
me?
laughs, and I was just like, holy cow, that poor
Yeah, I
woman.
was like, that's a 50s laugh right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it just felt like
Just kick
something.
this
I was
woman
like, I'm
down a
surprised I hadn't seen this in a GIF somewhere, like on
wow.
YTMND.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It's a good,
also
Ethan's a
the
good
other
character.
thing. Yeah. The other, I think, very 50s thing about this movie is that if this was made in a different time, it would also be a lot bloodier. And
Oh,
when you think
100%
about what's
yes.
actually happening in this movie, it's a violent film. There's a lot of a lot of gunfire and shooting and that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
then when they finally have that conversation with Scar, and he says, that for every son that I have killed, I go and kill many more, and I have the scalps to prove it. And they bring out that rod with the scalps on it. It's looks just mostly like ponytails, like it's like locks of
Mhm.
hair or whatever. And I'm thinking about other neo westerns that I've seen where it's a lot more graphic, and
Yeah.
you actually
It'd
have
be
like the
bloody.
skin of somebody's head. Yeah. um
Well, even at the end,
yeah.
he scalps the chief, and it
Yes.
looks like some hair, like a
Yes,
pony, like you
exactly.
said, like a ponytail, or even like a feathering or something. Like it doesn't
Right,
look
right.
like a
It cuts
scalp.
away from that moment, but in the moment he draws a knife and grabs the chief, by
The
the
dead
hair,
chief's
and
head.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like
When people are shot left and right,
yeah, and it's
and
mostly bloodless.
It's mostly bloodless, which is very of that era.
Yes, it is.
And the fist fight wouldn't have been violent. That was played for laughs, so that would have been about the same. Um, but yeah, there's some things that would have been amped up to 11 if this was made now, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you also could slap this into theaters with different ratings, I think, and get away with more. But it's a wild movie. I mean, there's like even like the horses getting shot. I feel like we would have had like people getting trampled and like run
Hmm.
over, you know, like those sort of
Yeah.
scenes. Because there's like horses running through tents and camps and stuff.
Right.
And I think of modern movies, they would have utilized that to like run down people, but it's all pretty clean. I mean, even like there's levels of goofiness in this movie that take me like a Blazing Saddles level, like of like my favorite line, which is utterly ridiculous, is "Boy, what's that knife?" when he swings the saber into the dude's face, and then he sticks him in the butt at the end. Like he doesn't say it, but
Yes.
it's the obvious implied joke. He got injured. He's been
Yeah, he
over.
gets
What
shot
you
in the
get?
butt or
Did you get
something.
shot in the butt? He's like, nope. And he's like, you looks at the saber, and you're like, oh, the you know the really green around the ears guy stabbed him in the
Yeah,
butt.
right.
The running joke has happened finally. Um, so like that, there's that in this movie, and I think that would have been eliminated. I think that's a part of the era. I think you wouldn't have had those laughs, and I think you would have had blood and guts. Oh, and the implied like massacring and desecration of the women that are
Oh yeah.
involved in the raids. Like he wouldn't let Marty go in the building because Martha's body was there.
Yep.
He went into the canyon by himself, and he's like digging in the sand with his knife. And at first I thought something suspicious was happening, like he was making a deal with the Native Americans, but then he's like he tells obviously what happens. And what's her name? Lucy's body has been found. And you're just like,
Right.
"Oh my gosh." Like this, and then that's how Brad dies, because
Yeah.
he just rides off. And so we
Yeah,
don't
he
see
goes
any
and
of that.
yeah, that's yeah, I almost forgot about Brad's character, but that's another one where he gives into that violent rage that Ethan seems to carry with him, but has more experience in it, and it meets his immediate end.
Oh,
Whereas even when Ethan has these moments of revenge, he also has
he's like
moments of he
calculating.
wants to do the right thing, um, even when everybody else around him, including the uh, Texas Ranger slash preacher, um,
Well,
who
he's
didn't,
very a lone ranger, but like a dark ranger situation, because he tells the preacher man who knows him, he knows Ethan. They served together in the Confederate Army.
right?
And then he's like, if you're wrong with these orders, it's the last ones you're going to give me. And I'm like, dang, he is
Yeah,
just like laying it out there. But yeah, like he trips Marty, doesn't let Marty chase after Brad. He's like, not gonna let you die too. Like if Marty's gonna go, or if Brad's gonna go kill himself, like you're not gonna do the same thing. And sure enough, Brad dies immediately, like 6 gunfires, and then it's dead silent.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a wild movie. There is a lot of twists, like, and then also it does not help the case that the acting is clearly from the 50s. So like some of the actors are better than others. John Wayne is really good. But then like Charlie the postman, his voice, like when he started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, like where did they find this
he's
man?
one where I'm like, did you come? He feels like he's in a different movie. You
It's
know, this
so
is
weird. So
the thing about
weird.
this. The thing about this time, and this applies to John Ford directly, is like they got their starts making silent films,
Ah,
and I think that's actually you get really good. There's really good blocking in this movie. Blocking being the cinematography. It's not really a cinematography effect. It's just the staging of like where people are in the frame and where objects are in the frame.
mm.
Everything is placed perfectly, and when people move or when the camera moves, it's keeping everything so that like the whole frame is filled. There's no like empty space. There's something always interesting. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
you
something that
know,
you had to have when you
that's
didn't
true.
have spoken dialogue, and you couldn't, allow for a more naturalistic
Hmm,
acting style. Like everything kind of had to be over the top. So
that's a
yeah,
good point.
like there's parts
That's a
of this
good point.
movie. I watched a video where a guy kind of he brought that up. He brought up that you know there's parts of this movie that could be a silent movie, and you'd understand what was happening if all you had was subtitles because of how they're emoting. Like talking about like the scenes where uh, Lori and Marty are kind of having
Mm,
arguments. Like
hmm.
some of those arguments about you've loved me since you just would never say it. Like all that 50s melodrama.
Yeah,
It ends
yeah.
up working in those scenes, even though the acting is not as naturalistic.
Hmm.
Like their expressions and their body language and the blocking all helps you understand what's going on in the sequence and helps you understand the emotion.
Yeah. And even when he rides away at the first time, um, like the way she drags out her horse and then flops herself over at that fence, like I don't even
Hmm.
want to look, and then he just rides by. Um, if I think about it with no voice, just the orchestra, because yeah, silent movies had orchestra, right?
Yeah, you'd have like
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
music. Yeah,
Which that's another thing I want to comment on. The music was really well done with signaling in this movie.
sure.
I liked the orchestra. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to win like all the awards for orchestra, but
Sure.
it's what clued me in at the very get go that Ethan's got some gray in him because they would throw in a lot of minors and weird wonky sounds coming out of like his character. Wasn't always the brave, bold, brass moments. It was like, what? This is like villain music almost. Like
Yeah.
like this is very undertones of he's about to do something bad. But then it would switch and he's back to doing good things. And it was like that with his character the whole time. And so yeah, as I think about this movie, when I think about the Charlie guy, wooing her with the guitar, like if that was silent, honestly, yeah, I would get it. Like she reads this letter, I see some text fly up that it's like this is not going well, and then the last scene is like another guy wooing her with a guitar as she's forlornly staring out, and she turns and looks at him. Like, yeah, I get it. She's taking the alternative. She's like, I'm not gonna wait for this dude anymore. Because as soon as that happened, I'm like, and Charlie doesn't say anything. He just sings and I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, she's gonna go off with this dude, isn't she? That's what's gonna happen. And then that is what happens. For to an extent, but yeah, this movie is so wild, and I had some questions. So when I sent you the GIF, like I have questions. I
Yeah,
have all
sure.
the questions.
Shoot them away, and I'll
Um,
see if I can answer them.
Yeah, and if you can't, that's fine. But my questions are like, what is of this time? What is of this genre? And then what is of this movie? So, like,
Okay.
is the humor of this time, and it's just a byproduct of all 50s movies had some weirdness in them, or is it like of the genre? Like all westerns had this melocampy, like romance comedy moments, or is it like, nope, this is just the Searchers? It's John Ford's style, you know? And so I just
uh,
don't know enough. Like what
yeah,
things
sure.
stood out to you of like positive or negative of like this was all John Ford or no, this was just classic Western of that time.
Sure. Okay, I like this framing. Like, what is of yes. Okay. Let me kind of go like element by element. So I'm thinking like as you said, like the humor. I think that is a very like 50s like the movie needed to be a little bit more lighthearted. They didn't exactly have like it's not as dark as something like The Joker, around that
Yeah.
time, like a
Yeah.
movie where it's just like everything is bleak. Like movies typically, you're going to them to have a good time. So
Right.
I don't
Right.
think
Right.
you had as much of these like transgressive stories. Um, while this story or this movie does challenge it. So like the darker anti-hero elements, this like it's almost like a modern telling of like Moby Dick or like the Odyssey, this one man on like a years long uh, journey that's also filled with vengeance or whatever. That is like of this movie, like there's a lot of other westerns that are revenge stories, but they usually are a lot more cut and dry about who's good and bad, like who is in the right and who is in the wrong. Um, I think things like the cinematography, like how beautiful this movie looks, um, that is like a John Ford thing. So John Ford, as I may have said earlier, like he directed dozens of movies. Like it's kind of the thing you see with some of these,
Mm.
some of the things you see with these older directors, like from that time frame, is like you see that their filmographies have like 4 or 5 films in a year, or sometimes more. Like they just made
Hmm.
so much stuff, um, and so he would learn a lot just by doing all of this kinds of stuff. And this
Mm.
is a little bit later in his career. Like he had started in the 20s and 30s, like making silent films, and he managed to successfully. Not everybody did successfully make the transition over to talkies, as they called them. Um,
Thank you, Once Upon a Time.
yes. Um, or Babylon. That's another movie from recent years that's about like a similar
I'll stick
subject.
with Once Upon a Time.
um, so I think things like how good this movie looks, that is like a John Ford like hallmark. And I did send you that homework to watch
Yes.
the end of the Fablemans.
Yep.
Um,
Which I'm aware of that movie. I just haven't seen it.
yeah,
So
yeah, sure. So
honestly, watching this didn't ruin it for me.
no, it
I already
wouldn't.
knew it was kind of almost a bioptic sort of thing, and I'm interested in
Yeah,
it beyond this clip.
yeah. So this will be spoilers for 2022's The Fablemans by Steven Spielberg, I guess. So you can hit fast forward once or twice, if you have intentions to see that movie. But at the end of that movie, it's a semi autobiographical movie about Steven Spielberg's childhood. And he had told this story in interviews before about meeting John Ford, at the Paramount lot when he was a boy, and like a teenager, and he'd been making films with Super 8 cameras and stuff. He goes and meets John Ford, and there's this scene at the end of the film where John Ford is played by David Lynch, who is just
Which was
indoors
amazing.
smoking a cigar, wearing an eye patch, and says, They tell me you want to be a picture maker."
You want to be a
Um,
picture
yeah, he
man.
doesn't call it a director. He's like, "You want to be a picture maker," and he says, "What do you know about art?"
What do you know? He's the exact character from the diner in oh, you haven't even seen the
In
show.
Twin Peaks,
In Twin
but yeah,
Peaks. He just yells really loud, but
yes,
he's
it's
grumpy.
great. It's great.
Also,
I love.
pause. The amount of time it takes him to light the cigar before he talks, it
It's so
made me
funny.
laugh a lot.
Yeah,
So continue. You
but
want to
yeah,
be a
then
picture
he
maker.
he points to two paintings on the wall and says, like, "What do you notice about this picture?" And one of them honestly looks like it's from The Searchers, like
No,
the
I'm 100% sure it is because
yeah,
it's got Ethan's rifle covering.
yes, that rifle cover with like
Yeah, I'm
the like a
100% it's
burlap
from
book, yeah.
Searchers.
So he's pointing at this painting and he says, "What do you notice about it?" And he's Sammy Fableman, who is Steven Spielberg, goes up to it and is like, it's two cowboys and they're looking." He's like, "No, where's the horizon?" And he's like, okay, the horizon's at the bottom. He's like, "Okay, look at this one," and points to another painting. And Sammy kind of trips up on it again. He's like, "No, where's the horizon on it?" And he's like, "It's at the top." And he's like, "Here's what art is. If the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. If the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. And if it's in the middle, it's boring."
It's
Now get out of
boring.
my yeah.
Now
Now
get out
get
of
out
my
of my
bleeping office.
yeah. Um,
Remember that.
yes. So and this is a story that Steven Spielberg has told. And
It's
so
so funny.
he was not John Ford was not a director who was trying to like flex that he knew how to make films. He just knew how to make them. It's what they sometimes call like invisible filmmaking, where he's making a beautiful work of art and you don't even really realize what he's putting forth in front of you, like
Mm.
until you have somebody who knows more about this kind of stuff, like blocking, point out that like if you go back and you look at that shot where they find the dead Comanche body and the sheriff kind of like sits down. Every actor in that space is like posed in a unique way, and your eye naturally kind of like bounces from one to the next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it does. You
it's
notice
not
them
like there's
all.
Yeah, there's not like it's not like there's a big empty skyline either. There's like all the those beautiful like rock cliffs and faces. Like the whole frame is filled. Like it looks like a painting that you could put on a wall. But
Hmm.
it's this moving thing that was shot on like really really nice VistaVision film. So
Hmm.
that's something that I would say is like of this movie.
Kind of
All of like
reminds
the
me of your comment when we did Parasite and you talked about the lines and the use of lines in that
sure,
movie.
yeah,
Like that, like until you get that pointed out to you of like, hey, this is an artistic choice that the team, the director made. Your brain does stuff in recognizing it that they intended is the
yeah,
point without that invisible part. They intended you to have this experience and you had it, but you had no idea you were having it.
yeah. I'll say like part of this, of being a big fan of movies and watching them, and sometimes when people say like, oh, I don't even know how you notice that kind of stuff, like I don't notice it all the time either, to be honest. Like I'm not actively noticing things, but if you want to watch movies more intentionally, when you are watching a scene, sometimes you can just have the thought of like, what is the director trying to communicate in this
Hmm.
scene with everything that's in the frame, with everything we know about what's going on? Like if you are actively kind of like critically thinking like that, you start to get a lot of things out of these movies, like why is the shot like this, like, and how is it different from, or is it the same to other things in the movie? You can kind of like start to get into this kind of like one way dialogue with the director yourself. um,
Which I think is good for people to like myself to understand because it's easy to be at a base level like myself where you basically just have a popcorn rating. Like, did I enjoy it or did I not? Am I going to get a bucket of popcorn and watch this again? Whereas there is a level of watching that is more artistic, that doesn't have to be hoity-toity, but it
sure.
does give you a deep understanding. Like I have always, on all these conversations that I've been a part of for this podcast, greatly appreciated the depth that it's brought. Because now I even have friends that, like I have a friend who's a director. And so it gives me a better understanding of like, yeah, if Chaz is going to make a movie, I would know because I'm his friend. He's got things he's trying to communicate. So if I watched his movie, I
Sure.
would be paying attention more. I just don't know these people. So I just am viewing it on like an entertainment scale. But that's not always, some of movies are like that. Like we talk about, like if I want to see big robots fight Godzilla, like I'm just going to go to theater and watch that. Like
Sure. Yeah.
you may get a Godzilla movie that's like super introspective, but also maybe that's
Um,
for another,
yeah.
another show.
That's a great like franchise to look at, because they think like the more recent who's the production company, Legendary, that makes like all the Godzilla, Cross Kong, like those ones.
Yeah.
Those movies definitely are like just big spectacles or
It's
whatever.
just going to a
And at the
theater to
same
watch a
time,
monkey fight a lizard.
yeah, Toho, I think it's Toho is the name of the production company. I might have gotten that wrong and I apologize. But the guys who made Godzilla -1 a couple years ago,
Oh, sure.
like that's like a much more cerebral but still entertaining take on Godzilla. And
Yep.
there's things that, that are a lot more intentional with that film to make you think about like the original intent with Godzilla being like a metaphor for post World War II and post Hiroshima and Nagasaki Japan, in like what that did to them as a people and them as a culture.
Yeah. And I think that to round back to the searchers, I think that this is a great way of explaining there's probably a group of people who love John Wayne and are like, I do not like this movie. Why didn't you like
Oh,
it?
I'm
Well,
sure.
John Wayne's a bad guy. It's like, oh, you know what? Fair enough. If that's your frame of watching this movie, yeah, I kind of get it. Like, he does not come off well. Very necessary, great character. Doesn't come off well though. But then if you're watching it like me, this is your second John Wayne movie. And honestly, your first one was he was a grumpy old man who did the right thing. He was not as anti-hero, but he was definitely like the rough and tough hero
Yes.
that's doesn't he doesn't fit the mold. And you're
The
like,
U.S.
yeah,
Marshal. Yep.
I'm for this guy. But he's still a good guy. But then you go to this one and it wasn't weird for me. So for me, I
Sure.
was more clued into, well, what's happening with the plot? here of like, why are all these characters acting weird, and why does the music take a weird turn whenever his past comes up, and
Mm-hmm.
like those things were interesting to me, and it
Yeah.
did make me want to watch more westerns, ironically, because I wanted to get a better feel of like those questions I had. Is this a genre thing? Is this a John Wayne thing? Is this a John Ford thing? And so I
Yeah.
think it did a great work in making me more interested in westerns, whereas before I had kind of maybe written it off unconsciously in my brain of like, they're all the same, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's a,
Right.
you know what I mean? The western's a western. Sure, there's good ones, but you gotta like that stuff.
Yeah. You
And
have to
that
be
just
you have to be
yeah,
into it. And
yeah. That's kind of how my brain classified westerns. It was like, if you like westerns, you'll like it. If you don't, they're all the same.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's good.
No. Yeah.
It's kind of
I
like The
agree.
Thing. It made me interested in a genre.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
It's
good.
when something is elevated above what it's doing, you know. And if we want to start to transition into kind of like
Let's do that. Let's
the ending
transition.
thoughts, like, so I actually don't have any award season notes because this movie was not nominated for anything.
Whoops. Sorry,
Yeah,
searchers.
it's it's the 50s. It's I think like it's like the year of like The King and I with like Yul Brynner. Like it's like a lot of still old like 50s Hollywood kind of stuff. So
But
who
what would you
knows why it
give to
wasn't
the streaming algorithm?
the streaming algorithm though. So other notable Western works, some of which I've seen, some which I haven't, but Shane, as was brought up earlier, is another kind of classic Western. Rio Bravo, I believe that is another John Ford and John Wayne one. That's like if you
Is it
want the
Rio
more like
Grande?
proto. What was that?
Is it Rio Grande or Rio Bravo?
Rio Bravo.
Oh,
Rio
okay.
Grande is another one. Another like movie. You have So you have stuff like that. You could go and look up any list of like what are the best westerns of that time, but those are two that I would point you to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have more like modern stuff. So you have like Unforgiven, 1992 with Clint Eastwood.
Mm-hmm.
Is more of like
Another
a
Western
neo,
giant.
or yeah, not a neo western. Sorry, neo westerns are like when they are like modern. That's like Logan, but it's a modern take on a western. And similarly, like the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford is another
Mm-hmm.
um, western in that ilk. You could also look at the movies that were like inspired, like as I mentioned, Martin Scorsese loves John Ford. He loves The Searchers, and his character Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, which is a movie written by Paul Schrader. um, they both like drew direct inspiration from Ethan for
Hmm.
the character of Travis Bickle, this guy who is obsessed with um, maybe the wrong he's doing things for the wrong reasons,
Hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
is maybe spent a little bit too much time navel gazing and just like wallowing in some of that stuff. Oh, one thing I think I was going to say earlier when you were talking about uh, if you weren't like a John Wayne fan, if you were a John Wayne fan and you watched this movie and you're like, I don't know if I like that, it was a little bit darker. I could see like another read of this movie being what I would call like the Rorschach from Watchmen reading, where
Mm.
you like the anti-hero a little bit too much. I think you like that he's just uh his what is it, his ends justify his means a little bit too much. um
Yikes.
and that kind of like digs into some of the like Taxi Driver stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see people reading this movie and being like, oh yeah, he was absolutely in the right.
Yeah, and
Eh,
you just kind of glaze over the legitimate flaws that he's presenting. You're like,
yes,
yeah,
right.
but like
Or you find
he's
them justified for whatever
right.
reason. Yeah.
He just they deserve it, whoever they are in the situation. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Then
that's very valid.
yeah. So like I also said, George Lucas, Star Wars, it references the scene of with the destroyed homeland on Tatooine is very similar to the destroyed homestead of Ethan's brother and sister-in-law. I also saw someone point out that like when in episode 2 when Anakin finds out that his mom has been kidnapped and he goes into the Tusken Raider camp and like slaughters everybody. That's like
Oh,
also another like
Marty.
night. It's kind of similar to the end, like that the
Uh
last
huh.
raid where they go at night and they go and like slaughter them in their sleep and stuff.
Well,
Um,
it's like when Marty's creeping around between the tents too, and
yeah, yeah,
he's like
exactly.
does that look, and the Tuscan Raiders walk by, and then he finds his mom's tent, or
Yes,
not
right,
tent, but
and like and tries to get her out or whatever. Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
George Lucas, like of
Huh.
that same class of like Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, like these guys all like worship John Ford. So like all these guys that are now household names to us that grew up in the 70s and then inspired a bunch of guys that were then in the 80s and 90s and onwards, like
That's
they all were
fascinating.
part of it. Yeah.
That to me is the most fascinating thing that I've learned is that a lot of my favorite directors and movies pull a lot of
Yeah. It's
subtle and overt inspiration from not
yeah.
just John Ford, but this movie.
It's I'm trying to remember the quote, but like all great art is, copied and inspired off of other great art. And
Yeah.
it's, this big like building project that speaks to different people at different ages. And so then the final
Yeah.
like recommendation that I would actually have, it's like really good timing. And I did not plan this because I planned this, this movie to be in this slot like months and
Yeah.
months and months ago.
Yeah.
But Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another has just come out. I've seen it. It's great. And it also has a number of homages to this film, and elements of that movie are also in this film. Paul Thomas Anderson also is part of a group of directors that are trying to save the Turner Classic Movies channel. And
Huh.
part of that is that I think he's, like he's invested some of his own money back into Turner Classic Movies and getting, I believe it's Warner Brothers to stay on with it. But as part of like their agreement, he is also like doing some programming for them. And so he gave like a list of like, this is what you should watch, like in preparation, if you want to prepare for One Battle After Another, if you want to understand where my influences were. And The Searchers was one of those movies that was like
Interesting.
in that list of like 5 to 6 movies that also included stuff like the Battle of Algiers, and like the French Connection, I believe, and some other like classic films. So yeah, a movie that literally came out like last month is like directly influenced
From a
by this movie that was made 70
70
years
year old
70
movies.
years old. Yeah.
That's I love that. I love that stuff. I think there's a whole lot of people who won't I won't say won't care, but it's not interesting. But I
Sure.
think that there's a lot of people that if they knew the detail that went into how art like movies got made, that it would just only elevate for them. And this is one of those moments for me. So I'm blown away. I was not expecting this episode to take this turn because I
Yeah.
loved it, but I was like, I was all in on the plot of The Searchers, not what you've exposed as so much is going on in the behind the scenes and into
Yes.
our present behind the scenes. So
Yeah,
this is
because like
great.
I said, I think it's not a perfect movie. It's it's got its flaws and it's got the melodrama and like not all that stuff clicks with me, but the
Yeah.
stuff that does click with me like echoes and lasts 70 years
Yeah.
on. Like, and it's really
Yeah. It's
cool to
good.
see.
It's really
So
good. Well, my friend, this was fantastic. I think you teased out last time on the thing that we are probably going to get a bone tomahawk, which is another western,
yes,
but like
I
a
just listened
horror
to the episode.
western.
Did we actually say the names? I don't remember if we did. I think I was like,
Maybe
it'll
we
be a horror
didn't.
western or just a regular western.
You hedged. You hedged
Yeah,
well.
I was
Well,
not sure, but yes, next will
the
be Bone
plan is
Tomahawk.
still to do bone tomahawk, which is
Yeah.
good. I think yeah, you didn't know which would come out first, and so we chose the Searchers, and so now it's bone tomahawk. So if you enjoyed the Searchers, stick around. If you didn't enjoy the Searchers, maybe this one will tickle your fancy. So
Yeah,
stick
maybe
around for
if you
bone
wanted
tomahawk.
that bloodier version of the Searchers.
Yeah, I'm technically not scheduled for that episode, but I'm 100% going to watch it because I'm very curious now.
I'll be
So
very interested to hear what you have to say about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe I'll just pop on. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
in any event, thank you guys. Chris, you got any last words for us?
Yeah. Play us out, Ben.
We got nothing left, but thank y'all for listening, and come back on the next episode of Fun Bunker Film School. See y'all later.
Do 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 ah ah do do ah ah do do ah ah do do